Some motorcycles are just machines. They get you from point A to point B. But then there are the others, the ones that become legends, raw, untamed, and people whisper about them for decades. Today, we're diving into the story of one of the all-time greats, the Yamaha RD350.
Right, let's just start with its nicknames, shall we? When a bike is commonly called the Rapid Death or the Widowmaker, you know you're not dealing with your average everyday ride. These names tell you everything you need to know. This was a machine that demanded respect, and if you didn't give it, well, things could go south fast.
And here's the real mystery, the thing we're going to unpack today. By every single sales metric, this bike was a flop, a total commercial failure. They stopped making it pretty quickly. So how on earth did this market reject, morph into one of the most beloved, most sought-after collector's items in Indian automotive history? And just to give you an idea of its status now, look at this number. A well-kept RD350 today, it'll easily set you back anywhere from 5 to 7 lakh rupees, sometimes way more. It went from something nobody wanted to a treasure people will pay a fortune for. The question is, why?
Okay, so before we jump in our time machine, we really have to get a handle on the myth surrounding this bike. Its reputation today is built on pure, unadulterated power, a little bit of danger, and an experience that, honestly, modern bikes just can't give you.
All right, to truly understand the shockwave this bike created, we need to go all the way back to 1983. We've got to see the world it first roared into. So in '83, the Escorts Group brings the Yamaha RD350 to India, but they call it the Rajdut 350. Now, you gotta picture the scene, right? Indian roads were full of these practical, slow, super fuel-efficient bikes. And then this thing shows up. It wasn't just another motorcycle. No way. It was like an alien spaceship had just landed. A superbike from a completely different galaxy. The sheer shock of its arrival is right here in the numbers. While your average bike on the road was chugging along with maybe 7 to 10 horsepower, the high-torque version of the RD350 was unleashing 30.5 horsepower. This wasn't just an upgrade, it was a quantum leap. It was literally 3 to 4 times more powerful than anything else you could easily buy. But it's what those numbers felt like that made it a legend. I mean, the name RD literally stands for race derived. This thing could smoke its way to 100 kilometers per hour in under 7 seconds. That's a speed most cars on the road back then couldn't even reach. And the sound, oh, the sound. It wasn't some polite little hum. It was a screaming, raspy, banshee-like wail from its twin exhausts that let everyone know you were coming, long before they ever saw you. But here's the twist. The very things that made the RD350 so incredible, its raw power, its insane speed, its untamed personality, those were the exact same things that led to its downfall in the showroom. It was like a classic hero with a tragic flaw. Let's be really clear here. The bike didn't fail because it was bad. Far from it. It failed because the market, the roads, the mechanics, and frankly, most of the riders, they just were not prepared for a machine this ferocious. And the reasons for this were brutally practical. First off, the mileage, a dismal 15 to 20 kilometers per liter. In a country obsessed with kitna deti hai, that was a disaster. Second, its twin-cylinder engine was way too complex for the average mechanic. Finding someone who could actually fix it was a nightmare. Third, the power wasn't smooth. It was tame, and then suddenly, at 4,000 RPM, it would just explode with this violent surge that scared the daylights out of people. And maybe the biggest issue, to cut costs for India, they replaced the front disc brake from the Japanese model with a drum brake. A drum brake? On a bike this fast? That was just asking for trouble.
This quote from an owner just says it all, doesn't it? It perfectly captures the struggle. Finding a good mechanic was so hard that dedicated owners had to become experts themselves, often tearing down and rebuilding their own bikes over and over again just to keep them running.
So with terrible sales and a reputation for being way too much to handle, the RD350's time was always going to be short. It was a revolution that just fizzled out. But there was another, much bigger storm brewing that would seal the fate of its entire species.
See, at the heart of the RD350 was its two-stroke engine. That technology was the secret sauce, what gave it that incredible power in such a lightweight package. But it had a dirty secret. It burned oil along with the gas, which meant it pumped out a ton of smoke and pollution compared to cleaner four-stroke engines.
And this change in regulations was the final nail in the coffin for the entire two-stroke era. Now, the RD350 was already gone by 1990, but when India brought in the Bharat stage emission norms in the year 2000, that was it. It was game over for all mass-produced two-stroke bikes. The very thing that made them so exciting also made them impossible in the modern world.
There's a quote that sums it all up perfectly. It was the right machine, it just showed up at the wrong time. A peek into the future that arrived before anyone was ready for it, making it this brilliant, but very brief moment in history. But the end of production? That wasn't the end of its story. Not even close. Because out of the ashes of its commercial failure, the RD350 was reborn as something way, way more powerful. A cult icon. I mean, the transformation is just staggering. Back in the 80s, it's a failed product that cost about 30,000 rupees, and everyone thought it was impractical and dangerous. Fast forward to today, it's a prized collector's item worth lakhs, and we call it a legend. The very things that made it a failure back then are the exact reasons people crave it now.
And this legacy isn't just collecting dust in some garage. Oh no, there's a vibrant, thriving culture around it. You've got owners clubs all over India with meetups every month. A whole new generation of specialist mechanics has popped up just to keep these beasts alive. It's amazing.
And you have to understand, for these owners, it has never been about the money. This isn't an investment. It's about passion. It's about the thrill of hunting down a rare original part, the sheer satisfaction of rebuilding an engine perfectly, and the incredible joy of keeping a piece of raw, untamed history roaring down the road. And get this. Here's something that'll really bake your noodle. We've been talking about the 30.5 horsepower of the Indian version, which was already world-changing, right? Well, the original Japanese RD350 it was based on, that monster made a full 39 horsepower. They actually detuned it for India, and it was still considered too wild for our roads. Can you imagine? So ultimately, riding an RD350, it was never just about getting from A to B. It was a conversation between you and the machine. It was a test of your courage, a challenge to your skill, and it demanded your absolute respect. But if you gave it that respect, it gave you back an experience that was absolutely unforgettable. Which brings us right back to our big question. Was the RD350 a failed motorcycle, or was it just a legend that showed up to the party a couple of decades too early? When you look at its legacy today, I think the answer is pretty clear. The story of the RD350 is still being written every single day by the community that loves it. So if this has got you hooked and you want to dive deeper, check out rd350.info. It's an amazing hub for enthusiasts, full of guides, forums, and people just keeping that two-stroke spirit alive.